Welcome to Beesalong. These divider or division boards will work with both a solid baseboard or a mesh one, and I'm using a mesh one for this demonstration. The entry of the hive facing to your right, put 2 pieces of lollipop stick 1.5 millimeters thick, along this edge. That'll give you a 3 millimeter measurement. Put it on the hive body upside down and measure the internal of the box. Each manufacturer is slightly different, so it's always advisable to measure the internal by its length and minus 5 millimeters. Use either WeatherTex like this, painted one side, or plywood 9.5 millimeters to 10 millimeters in thickness. So I will be cutting this to 461 for its length. Make sure that is more than 300 high. Turn the box the correct way up. Try the board you just cut. It should go in easily with just a little bit of play, 2 to 3 millimeters on each side. Now you want a piece of bottom rail. Place it along the box. Place it along the box edge and mark now cut down, and this is the piece you will be wanting. This is an important step, don't forget to do it. Take one prop stick from each end, leaving one at each end. Now slide in the board that you just cut. It should sit 1 to 1.5 millimeters below the level of the frame bottom bar you used to pencil on your line. Now you want a piece of aluminium section 20 by 10 millimeters. This wants to be cut to the same length as a frame top bar. Then bore 4 pilot holes, about 50 millimeters each end, and 2 spaced somewhere in the center. I have drilled a pilot hole, countersunk, and I'm using a 5 gauge 16 millimeter long screw. I have the painted surface facing me, still supported on the two lollipop sticks. The aluminium rail goes behind, testing that it is a good fit. Then remove it and glue it up with a good glue like Gorilla Glue. Don't use a wood glue. Check you have an equal gap at the ends between the board aluminium and the hive body. Now insert the screws, being careful not to over tighten them because they're pretty short. Now I'm going to leave that overnight to really go off. That's had 24 hours to set, so remove the clamps. Remove the two pop sticks. Press the board back against the edge. Test your inner cover. You'll see that it's not sitting down properly here, there's a gap. And that's because this aluminium is above the timber surround, so they'll need to be cut back down to the same level. Place a piece of bottom rail underneath the follow board, set it down, and then reclamp it in place. Use a hacksaw to cut down about 5 millimeters. At both ends, clamp the board firmly to a work surface and then cut off 5 millimeters at this end. Clean up any burrs. Then do the other end. Well, as you can see, I went over the top a little bit with the glue, so it'll all need cleaning off, otherwise it will make difficulty when it comes to it being inside the hive itself. Cut the ends off the two lollipop sticks you were using before and glue and tack them to the face of the board, keeping them just below the top surface where the aluminium is. Try the board in the box to make sure it fits okay. Remember to take out the bit of timber from the bottom. Yep. Then try your cover, and that sits down correctly now with no gap. The divider board to go into the super is slightly different, so this is how it's done. You have your brood box below with your queen excluder on. Place on the super. Put 2 lollipop sticks high at each end and cut your board to length less 5 millimeters. Using a piece of frame bottom rail, mark, cut the board, leaving the line on. Remove 1 lollipop stick from each end. Slide in the board. Test your inner cover to make sure it fits. Cut your aluminium to the same length as the top bar. Now do the 4 pilot holes and countersink them. Glue up the aluminium. Make sure for both the aluminium rail and the board the gap at each end is equalized. Now insert the screws, being careful not to over tighten them because they're pretty short. Now I'm going to leave that overnight to really go off. That's had 24 hours to set, so remove the clamps. Remove the 2 pop sticks. Press the board back against the edge. Test your inner cover. you'll see that it's not sitting down properly here. There's a gap, and that's because this aluminium is above the timber surround, so they'll need to be cut back down to the same level. At both ends, clamp the board firmly to a work surface and then cut off 5mm at this end. Clean up any burrs. Then do the other end. Remove the two pop sticks from inside the hive body. Cut the ends off and then glue and tack them to the face of the board. Mark it up with an S because this board will not fit in the brood. It is then used in the super to close off this void at the end of the box. Test the inner cover to make sure that it fits. In the brood box, the divider board can be used to close up this void and keep the correct bee space. Good day. I've only put up a couple of places where the follow boards or divider boards can be used. In part 2 I'll give the other places. They can be very useful. Now don't forget to leave comments, or if you've got questions, please let me know. Hooroo! For future videos and updates, please subscribe, then click the bell.